What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CanesInSight Daily Podcast, powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. As you can see, I'm on the move. I am in Colorado, sunny Colorado. Pete's on the ground. We're going to have a lot of folks at Pro Day today. It is a huge day for the Canes as we see what that number could be as far as total draft picks. It's going to be 6, 7, 8, maybe a 9 or 10. Who knows what that number will be? A lot of big performances kind of coming up here in this Pro Day where their stock could go up and down. We've seen players like Jaden Davis, DJ Ivey put themselves on the map and get drafted at Pro Day. So it's going to be very, very fun to watch. Ton of scouts in attendance. Of course, today's the first day of the rest of the college basketball season, or I should say the next college basketball season for the Miami Hurricanes as they start the run towards 26, 27. And we'll talk about that. Also some recruiting news, new potentially 5-star crystal ball to the Canes. We'll get into that. As always, shout out Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. Pete, get in here.
D, good morning.
How you feeling, man? I know it was a tough one yesterday. I saw you're very reflective and emotional in a good way, post-game Pete, after the season, after the loss to Purdue. I mean, I saw your thoughts. Purdue's a good team, man. They've been good for a while. Their offense is tough. They had a little more depth. I thought Miami played hard and just ran into a better team. Now that you've had a chance to sleep on it, how are you feeling?
That would be you're making an assumption there. I don't know that I slept much at all. I'm in a depressed stupor this morning, D. But no, you said it best. It was a better team. I said this from the beginning of the tournament. Look, win a game, I think really you put a stamp on what the season was in year one for Jay Lucas and the staff. Right? We talk about Jay a lot as he deserves the credit, but I think we need to really highlight a lot of the staff members for putting this thing together as well. And you said it there. I mean, this was just a better Purdue team. Unfortunately, the issues, talking to some people around the program, I think you did as much as you could do with this team. And that, you know what? I don't even want to say as much. Look, they were leading the game there in the second half, right? So it's not like they completely got blown out of the water here, but the issues that you had from this Miami team were magnified yesterday. You went 5 for 19 from 3. Who knows if you hit a couple here or there? I mean, it may be a different situation, but you just had too many of those 3-4 minute stretches yesterday where you go stagnant offensively. A team like Purdue just wasn't having those issues. I mean, it was late into the first half there and they hadn't missed 2 shots in a row. So just a very consistent effort offensively, getting them, obviously Braden Smith at point guard, but he really wasn't even the issue.
Turned the ball over a lot.
Yeah, turned the ball over a lot. I mean, Dante Allen really had some good ball pressure on him. So tremendous season here. I don't know if you want to talk about kind of what's next for them now, or we can do that later in the show, because I know a lot of people are hopping on here probably for Pro Day and recruiting talk early on in the show, but just pumped up about what the future holds there, and hopefully people get behind it. I think a couple things. Number one, the football season going as long as it did this year, there was a bit of a hangover. You were essentially into February by the time people even turn their attention to basketball, which, that is the nature of the beast at Miami. But I always say it as someone who has been open about, my lack of availability for football games. The reasons that it's tough for me to get out to the football games sometimes is all the reasons why it's so easy to get to the Canes basketball games if you're local here in Miami, to me, and in terms of the parking and the in and out situation, all that. So hopefully the support is ratcheted up next year, as there's a spotlight. And I said this a couple months ago, D, and I'm sticking with it. This will be a top 20 not only roster but team preseason next year. I really believe that once you guys see what some of these moves that they're going to make in the portal, and just again, retention is going to be pretty big here. I think you're going to have a nice chunk of these guys returning.
Yeah, and I think we could tell from not only the really nice packed houses towards the end of the year, right? Again, with football season winding down, and you saw that this team, what they were about, there were some really nice packed houses. You and I, who, we were there in the beginning and there at the end, in terms of the Watsco, you saw the difference in some of those games down the stretch, just in terms of the crowd. And then in the comments, man, you could tell from the comments in this show and just the comments we get under the channel, it is, there's a real fan base, and that fan base is growing. So like the direction. We'll talk about the whole offseason plan here later in the show. Got to talk about Pro Day, because I think it's going to be a very, very interesting day. But first, before we get into Pro Day, want to shout out my boy, Josh Sarnoff at Scrap City, scrap-city.com. Old electronics don't belong in the trash. Look at all those old iPhones. They still contain valuable materials that can be recovered and reused. Recycling your e-waste helps reduce landfill waste, conserve natural resources, and ensure electronics are handled responsibly. At Scrap City, we make it easy to dispose of all those devices the right way. I know you have a box like that. I got a box like that in my house with all my old phones. So let's dispose it the right way. Give your tech a second life. 954-330-9472. Speak with your team at Scrap City. That is Josh Sarnoff, our boy, CanesInSight lifer, Pompano Beach, Delray Beach location, scrap-city.com. It's recycling time, baby. Let's go. Let's recycle. And it's not just for the environment. It is also for some cold, hard cash. You got some scrap metal. You're a contractor, electrician, air conditioning guy, you name it. Scrap-City is your spot. We got Purdue.
Purdue Pete was in here the other day, and I said before the game, I said I respect the program, but at the same time, let's not act like Purdue's, for as many situations, they've put themselves in a lot of situations over the years. They haven't necessarily achieved much, so it is what it is. Indiana took their lunch money this year, so in football, but
we're going the right direction, man. We'll focus on ourselves. Purdue we'll see what they do. I mean, honestly, the Cinderella's dying, man. Now we got 2 years of evidence, man. I mean, I asked my son, who's Cinderella? He said Texas. It's not Cinderella.
I'll say this, D. It was nice to see Florida soften the blow a little bit for us yesterday.
Let's talk about that, Pete, because we should do a quick little. Did you see the tweets?
I did. I don't like them, honestly. I don't know that it's necessary, quite frankly. We lost in the same round as them. I'm a basketball fan, obviously, and I don't like the Gators, and I can do that because I'm a fan. But I don't agree with it one bit. I don't think it has any relevance to the situation.
Well, it's not Jay Lucas or Moran or Pastrana tweeting it, so it is.
I get it, but I don't think it's. You leave yourself open to a lot of. Honestly, D, I think it's very un-Mario like, and I think it's kind of opposite of who he's been.
For those who don't know, I love it. For those who don't know what we're talking about, and I would show the tweet, but I think it's copyrighted. Mario posted The Rock, professional wrestler, big star, Miami graduate, throwing up the U, doing the people's elbow on some jabroni.
You can put it up and pause the video, and just have the screenshot video.
I believe it was against Michael Cole. It was wearing a Boston Celtics jersey at the time. So just kind of making fun of the Gators a little bit because it was right after their loss. Dennis Smith, Miami's GM, basically, he posted a lot of laughing emojis. And Pete, I would agree with what you said if the basketball people posted it. But football took care of Florida 2 years in a row. Dominant fashion. Got their coach fired.
I don't see the relevance, quite frankly. I don't see it's honestly, D, and I hate to say it, but it's a very Manny Diaz type move to me.
Manny wouldn't have beaten the Gators by 30 points or whatever. We beat them by the first game.
I just don't see the relevance. If we're talking football, maybe it is, but what's it got to do with recruiting? Flankerton said it's a recruiting tactic. What the heck does Todd Golden and them have to do with Miami football recruiting? They just won a national championship last year. I can't. I wish we won a national championship. I don't know, man. Don't like it. I don't like it. I think it's again kind of opposite of who we've been. Let's just continue winning games on the field, and we didn't win yesterday, D. It would be awesome if we won, but we didn't win.
But he's a fan when it comes to the basketball side. We fans were celebrating like crazy when, Iowa beat Florida. So he was just a fan in that moment. And then also from his own personal coaching part of it, I mean, Florida got less yards than Bethune-Cookman against us this year. We destroyed them in the swamp. Embarrassing fashion, sent their quarterback to the hospital, ended DJ Lagway's Florida career basically the next year. Their coach got fired. Their whole staff got fired. Their collective was showing up drunk on Twitter Spaces and had to quit.
I know.
It's as thorough of an obliteration of a program as you could have.
Yeah, but okay, but why wasn't the staff tweeting during the baseball series then? Like, let's be consistent then. I'm being honest. Well, right. So I'm just saying, like, I don't like giving this ammo out. Like, just go beat everybody. Go win every game. Now, I'm not talking about football. I'm just talking about all the sports. Like, we support all the sports here. Like, we can do the talking after. You and I can do all the stupid stuff. We do it already. Like, we make segments out of it. We tweet about this. And by the way, I'm a defender. I'm not an aggressor. I hope people understand that about me, right? With a lot of the Duke stupidity and all that. But with this one, I don't know that I can't get behind it, D. I understand it got people pumped up and all that. I just personally didn't see the relevance. But let's just work it. Let's just work and go win games, man.
You got to squeeze. So we're not playing the Gators this year. You know what I mean? So I think because you took care of business 2 years in a row, obliterated their entire program, their whole program is gone. They don't even care about football right now. They're cynical. They could not be more obliterated again as a program. I think you got to take those wins and squeeze from the football side. If Jay was tweeting this, it'd be a different story. You got to squeeze the pain as much as you can out of it because we're not playing them this year. I don't plan on going to I don't even know what bowl. What's the third rate? The Music City Bowl. Like we're not trying to go to the Music City Bowl and play these guys. So it's probably a while before we see them again. So you got to kick them while they're down. Kick them while they're down. I know you believe in kicking people while they're down. It's a core belief that we both have. You got to kick people when they are down.
It's not the. I get it, but it's like it's not Mario, man. I mean, it's Mario, but it's like I don't know. Even Mario the other day, man. Mario wasn't the one who started the Kirby Smart thing. He was defending himself and he was defending the program. I don't like it since we lost maybe it would have been a little funnier to me if we had won our game, but that's not what happened. Like it's Florida won a national championship this year. We haven't won a national championship in basketball or football with Mario. So I don't know. It wasn't as funny maybe to me as others.
Well, I enjoyed that defeat tremendously. Great game. Shout out to the Iowa Hawkeyes. Crazy end of that game, man. That was fun to watch. Yeah. They were in control really most of the game. The Gators made their run there at the end, and then they responded. And I don't know if it helps recruiting at all or anything like that. I mean, the Gators obviously are a pretty prominent program, so I don't know if it makes a difference. They should still be able to recruit as much as they can, but at least you don't have a powerhouse, like a dominant powerhouse right there on your border where you could where they're going back-to-back Final Fours and like it's an even higher level. They're defending champs were the defending champs, so you get them their respect.
North Carolina's might come calling now for Todd Golden.
There you go.
So Chris Brown says, "Get out of your feelings. All is fair and love is recruiting." I'm not the one in my feelings. It seems to be like Mario's the one in his feelings, tweeting that stuff. And
he hates the Gators just like us, man. And it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great to watch that program. I mean, imagine trying to rebuild the Florida Gators football program. Like they spend all their money on skill position. They have no offensive line. They're counting on this offensive line coach. What's that guy's name that they got? Like,
Phil Troutwine.
You know, when you start hearing Troutwine hype this early, that they don't have that many bullets.
I mean, look, to their defense, the Penn State O-line has produced some guys the last few years, and I mean, they get guys.
Was a good recruiter. They should have got Jace Franklin instead of this goof that they got.
If Alex Mirabal goes to another school, do you think that they're hyping him up, or do you think that they're saying he only did it because of Mario?
No, that's true. But you got to recruit the guys. I think that's the key with the Gators is continuing to smoke them in offensive line recruiting. We'll talk about CeCe Malinois here in a second, people forget, the Gators thought they had a chance to get him. They bid a lot for him. So, that was big. And then also Samson, who's now starting for us, going to be a second year as a starter coming up here and developing into the player you ultimately thought he would be. That was another Gator offensive line defeat. So if they don't start recruiting offensive linemen, winning those battles, they're going to continue to get smoked. And I'll continue to enjoy every single piece of their misery, no matter where it comes from.
We both will. And then I don't want to get that misconstrued. I definitely enjoyed it. I just want to listen. We got Coach. Let's get ourselves a cornerback coach. Coach.
Who that's going to be? We got to get ready. That's going to happen. Got to be today. So we'll got to get that instant reaction ready,
one way or another.
All right. So let's talk pro day finally. But actually, first, I'm going to pop open. I'm here in Colorado, so they're drinking Papa's Alternative Brew. Papa's Alternative Brew, brewed out of Medford, Oregon, delivered all over the country, including Florida, by the way. 7.5, 210 milligrams of THC, so it's non-alcoholic, but believe me, there is a buzz. You just don't have the booze, don't have the hangover, only 60 calories. Promo code CANES, Canes. You get 25% off your order, and your shipping can go anywhere. Again, Florida. It's brewed in Oregon because that's where these things are their absolute best. It's like the Napa Valley of THC drinks, but you can deliver it all the way to the American Southeast. And Papa's, man, unbelievable flavors, different types, Lucky Lager, Sticky IPA. Shout out to our guy, Nick West, huge Canes fan, huge CanesInSight fan. I know he's watching the game yesterday. So promo code CANES, Canes. Just put the Canes in there, get 25% off. Shout out to Papa's. All right, let's get to Pro Day, Pete. So you've been how many have you been to probably in your life between your agent career, and I know we've been to them since we've been doing the stuff together?
10, 12,
so just
15 maybe.
Before we get to the specifics of the deal, how important are these pro days? And what are some of the things that, look, there's the media side where we get excited about certain things. There's the team side where it actually does move the needle in certain ways. What are the things that you've noticed in the past have moved the needle from a pro day standpoint?
Yeah, so I said this the other day. When it comes to pro day, first of all, it's a piece of the puzzle, right? Film is number one. A lot of these guys have done some stuff at the combine, but maybe need to finish off their workout. They'll do interviews along the way, but this is a lot of times a chance for teams to see them up close. And really what it is, it's those on-field positional workouts, to me, is the most important part of this thing. Outside of, look, yes, Xavier Restrepo last year running a 4.8, 4.9 was the reason he went undrafted, right? So yes, you have to avoid a disastrous situation in something like that. But at the end of the day, these on-field workouts, the position coaches running them through these drills are trying to wear them out and kind of see what sort of gas tank they've got and make it really feel like a game sort of situation and see what their habits are, see what their technique is once you get them exhausted here, right? So you look at defensive line, for example, right? And I said this last week. I think Ruben Bain's really going to shine in a situation like this. I think an Akeem Mesidord is going to shine because we understand that those guys. We'll see if a Bain even runs today. I think that it's a decision that, and I have no intel on it, but it's a decision you have to make. I mean, why are you going to put up a time that is going to make people think one way or another? Let them just guess. If I'm in that situation, let them just guess.
Restrepo,
like you look at Restrepo last year, and as a competitor, you want to do it, and you look. He was probably running certain times at training. That always is how it goes. Guys are always running faster at training than they end up running on time to run. But it's sometimes you got to swallow the pride a little bit and say, let them guess. Let them guess. And I think like Bain will excite a lot of these coaches and scouts when they see him in those on-field workouts more than anything. So yeah, opportunity here. I think we'll get 9 to 11 guys drafted. Will probably be the number. But I look at a Keelan Marion who didn't get a combine invite. I look at a James Brockermeyer didn't get a combine invite. I look at a David Blay who didn't get a combine invite. So those guys kind of have an extra spotlight on. CJ Daniels will be a very interesting one in terms of what he runs 40-wise. Damian talking about Jacoby Thomas as well. Once he goes through the testing. So, yeah, Brockermeyer had a great Senior Bowl. Center is a weird position sometimes because there's a lack of value there if you don't have the versatility to also play guard, because you're only going to keep most teams keep the one, obviously, of your starting center, and then you have a guy who can play guard or center. He's probably just a center, just like we saw with Matt Lee last year as well, or a couple years ago. So, yeah, man, you got 17 guys participating. I think I counted, and you got 90 NFL personnel in the building. This will be the biggest one yet. You're going to have probably 3 first-rounders here with Bain, Mesidor, and Francis. And then Carson Beck, man, I think he's got a good opportunity here, to be the third or fourth quarterback taken.
Totally agree. I think the guys I'm watching very close, Carson Beck, obviously, Jacoby Thomas, who Damian mentioned the combine wasn't his best as far as just moving around, changing directions. The things you knew he was going to be weaker at than what you see on tape, which is physicality and game-changing plays. I think he's going to look good, like in terms of his size. I think he's going to run pretty well. I think he's slow. We'll see. But I think, the change of direction and the fluidity stuff will be where he really needs to hone in. So I'm excited to see what he could do. Keontae Scott, if he could run in the 4.3s, I think he can run. He's fast. I think that will help him a lot. Talking to different people, you mentioned 9-11. I think that would be optimistic because we did bring back guys that could have gotten drafted, Fletcher being one of the bigger ones. So Ed Moten, right? So if I had to guess, I would say, and I talked to a few people about this that would know. And again, no one really knows, right? No one knew that Jaden Davis was going to get drafted. He was a guy that had a spectacular pro day. We talked about it where I thought he was a star of pro day. You mentioned it like right after the pro day, you talked to a scout that was like, hey, Jaden Davis looked pretty good. We kind of took it like, all right, whatever, like I'm glad he's doing well, but it's not like someone's going to impact the actual draft. It'll be like a free agent kind of thing. And he ended up getting drafted 7th round. DJ Ivy, he had an awesome pro day, get drafted 7th round. So these pro days can make a difference in that way. Talking to people, though, if I were to say how I see it shaking out without knowing exactly how the rounds will line up, I'll say Malinois probably the first one off the board. And I think he's going to have a great workout today. He just moves great. I think this will help him more than anybody as far as like he fits, not help him as far as moving him up or down, but just like he's going to kill this environment. Like I think he could have easily worked out of the combine and dominated. He's super athletic. He moves well in all these drills. He looks good in person. Like he's going to look great. I think he's trying to cement a top 5 pick. I think he will. Bain, all the stuff you mentioned. The key with him, where he was really going to shine, is the position drills. I've been out at UM before I came out here to Colorado. Every time I've been out there, I've seen him working on the position drills. He's working hard, working with Jason Taylor, working with his own personal coaches. He is going to be awesome in those position drills. He can really bend, and he's so intense with it. Mesidor, I heard there's some question as to whether he might be able to participate. So we'll look at that situation. He'll get drafted somewhere in the first round. His tape is too good, I would guess. So those 3 first-rounders. The next one off the board, I know a lot of people are saying Keontae Scott, and I think he'll run well and do well. Pete, if you asked me to bet, I would bet Beck is the next one off the board.
Yeah, I would agree. There's too much volatility, I think, with nickel, I should say, in terms of what teams are going to value their D. And without saying that I know enough about some of the other guys at the position, there's probably going to be some guys there who have inside-outside versatility, and I don't know that Scott has that for the next level.
Right. The man coverage was questionable at Auburn, so I think that's something that people are going to look at. But I do think I love Scott. I think there's going to be people that love Scott just because of the way he plays. Yeah. So you want him to just go to a team like the Ravens or a team where he could really let it rip. Mm-hmm. So those, I would say Beck would be next 4th to me. Then I would say probably Scott. Then I'd say probably Bell. So now we're looking at 6 players drafted there. Then you look at Cooper. I think has done enough to get drafted. That would be 7.
Blay, listen, I'm counting it here. I still got it at 9 to 10. D. Blay is getting drafted.
But I skipped Jacoby Thomas.
You skipped Jacoby Thomas, who will get drafted also. Blay, I'm hearing that he's going to get drafted. And I said this on the show the other day that you weren't on. I don't know if you heard anything similar. But he was having to play more of a nose tackle at Miami. he's more of a 3-tech penetrating type at the next level. And again, I'm not saying that, Miami messed him up, but like he had to play a certain position out of necessity, right? The jumping offside stuff didn't help him either, but like he was playing a position that he was having to play a certain role. That's not what he's going to be playing at the next level. And I think scouts, from what I've talked to a couple people here in the last week, recognize that, and he will get drafted. If he had, I think he'll go out there and have a strong workout today. Looks like he's in good shape right now. So he's one that I would say gets drafted as well.
That'd be great. And I think, with those later guys, Kevin Dennis mentioned he looked good against Notre Dame, which is going to be the first film that people pop in. I think with guys like that, Pete, and this, it's some teams will not even care about Blay just because it's not for them, and some teams will like him. So he needs to put himself in the best position for the teams that like that kind of player here at the Pro Day. I heard Brockermeyer and CJ Daniels both have a chance.
Toss up. Those are 50-50s. Let's say one of those guys gets picked. And then I think Wesley Basanth gets taken.
Yeah, so a lot of talk about Wes. He needs to work out well. I thought he did at the combine, but I want to see him, run a good time. The thing with him is off-ball linebacker, doesn't rush the passer particularly well yet. He could. Cover skills are good, but not like, I wouldn't say he's like a cover linebacker. So like his position is hurting him, I think, more than just his game, because, those guys tend to have priority. Those either they're a pass rushing linebacker, or they're a linebacker that can pass rush, or they're just like a third down specialist cover. Like it's hard to put him in a specific box. He's just a well-rounded player. Special teams, I think he can be very good on special teams. Hasn't played a ton of special teams at Miami. So we'll see on that. If you're asking me who's going to be on an NFL roster in September, I think he has a great chance, meaning Wes. The draft, we'll see. I hope so. This is a big day for him as well. Big day for a lot of these guys, because also, Pete,
Markel
this.
Bell.
Yeah, Markel Bell for sure will get drafted. We talked about this before, though, Pete. It's like it's not just Pro Day to get drafted. Some of these guys are also securing their spot for free agency. Not saying that they're locked up now, but like that they're putting themselves on the radar with these scouts and teams. So when it is the priority, the undrafted free agency timing, these guys are getting snatched up quick.
Yeah, getting guaranteed money. Also, I mean, there's guys who can get guarantees, 6-figure guarantees that, it makes a difference. I mean, it won't be the NIL money, quite frankly, for some of them. But I mean, look, most of these guys have exhausted eligibility. It's not like they're for at least the guys who are kind of in that position there. So, it's a big day. Obviously, come a long way from. Got a beautiful day of weather out here from the Mark Richt, that first Mark Richt Pro Day when it was a disaster with the weather and didn't have the IPF in it and stuff like that. But no, it's I think you're getting where you need to be. I think still you're gonna have these 3 first-round picks, obviously deep, but then there's gonna be a gap there, kind of how we saw last year. Top 100 picks. You want as many of them as possible. I think eventually you're gonna get this thing to the point where you got 5 or 7 a year, top 100 picks.
That's championship,
and you're not far off from it. I don't think you're that far off from it, quite frankly.
I mean, yeah. I mean, five top 100 picks. I think that probably will happen this year. I think.
Yeah.
So that will be the first year, but I think obviously you go to the championship, so you see the correlation between what it takes to get to a championship level team. I mean, we saw it on the field, and then what it looks like on draft day. This, by the way, yeah. So someone mentioned this in the comments, Adkins. It's going to be 2 to 4 on ACC Network, the Pro Day. Pete, you're going to be out there live, so we'll have some post coverage. Are you going to be going live after the Pro Day today?
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, so Pro Day, it starts at, they're saying the workout should start around 2:15. It's actually going to be aired on ACC Network from 2 to 4. So what I'm planning on doing is I'll be over there for a couple hours, and then I'll be going live from the Great Bay at around 4:30 or so, tentatively, just go right across the street there in South Miami and go live, with all the reaction from Pro Day. So that should be this afternoon. I know you'll be in Colorado there, but that should be around 4:35, we'll say. So we'll call it the instant reaction of Pro Day there.
Yeah, I'll be watching on TV, and this is an interesting one, Pete. I want to get to this comment and this news from our guy Philip Rusomano. I think is up there in the New York area, New York, New Jersey area. He says Beck met with the Jets GM yesterday. So we've talked about in the show. I know I've mentioned that I thought the Jets for Carson Beck made a lot of sense. They need a quarterback, obviously. They have a lot of picks. The conventional wisdom is, all right, well, they're going to just totally tank this year, and then they're setting up to get a quarterback next year, where it's a better quarterback draft. But if you don't have a quarterback, you need one. They just traded Justin Fields. Who they get? Geno Smith to be their kind of default quarterback. So I think Beck makes sense there. They do have, when you look at the New York Jets, obviously everybody's going to see that and say they're horrible, which they are. But they have pretty good offensive tackles. Like they drafted the guy from Penn State a couple of years ago. He ended up being pretty good. They drafted Mbu from Missouri last year. He was pretty good. So they got two young tackles. They have a lot of draft picks. They have good receiver. They have Garrett Wilson, at least, who's a good receiver. Mason Taylor, a tight end. Brees Hall, a running back. Like they have pretty good offensive personnel for how bad they are. And one thing with Beck, I know this is not a decision maker, right? But Rick Spielman, which is the one that, not the one that played linebacker, Rick Spielman, the one that was a GM.
Mm-hmm.
When he got fired at Minnesota, and he was actually a pretty good GM in Minnesota, he drafted some really good players, including Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. He went to the podcast world, and he was basically like doing a draft podcast last year, the Cam Ward year. In the entire year, he was saying, Carson Beck's the best quarterback in the draft. Carson Beck's the best quarterback in the draft. And then when he got injured, he goes, listen, I know he got injured. I just heard he went to UM. He's going to be the man next year. He's my guy. He then got hired by the Jets to be like not a consultant because he works for the Jets, but be like, an advisor kind of guy. I'm not saying he's the decision maker or anything like that. But when you have I could tell you that there is a giant advocate for Beck in that room right now, and that is Carson Beck.
Well, and here,
Rick Spielman for Carson Beck.
Here's the thing with Beck, D. Hypothetically, you know that in the NFL now, there's not time for these quarterbacks to develop, right? If you're drafted, first of all, obviously in the first round, if you're drafted there, you're playing right away. But when you're a team like the Jets, number one, might as well stockpile multiple guys and see who, remember when the Redskins did that with RG3 and Kirk Cousins at the time. They drafted RG3 first round and then Cousins in the fourth. And there's been other examples. We saw what the Browns did last year. We'll see how that turns out. But essentially, when you've been that bad, just go grab multiple players at the position. Someone should work out. And again, hypothetically with Beck, yes, every quarterback has a learning curve in the NFL, but he's such an experienced guy at this point, D, that like I would think a team is better off just kind of throwing him out there and see what you've got early and see if you have something that you can build on there. And again, if you've been as bad as you have been with the Jets, maybe you take him second round, early third round, and you say, you know what, let's maybe rush him out there a little bit.
Yep.
And maybe we can actually build on something here, and then we don't have to go take another first round pick at quarterback next year, and we can build with him. I mean, that's just, to me, that would be the way I look at it with him.
Totally agree. And look, where do they play? They play in the AFC East. AFC East is a grimy conference, meaning, yes, Miami games are going to be fine. It's in the good weather. New York weather sucks. New England weather sucks. Who else in the obviously Buffalo weather sucks. So, they're getting a roof now, right? Like they're getting a roof like us, I think, where it's like half outdoor, half covered. But either way,
I don't follow the NFL like that. I don't know.
Someone let me know. Buffalo Bills fans, let me know in the chat. But that's a division where historically size and ability to just be kind of that sturdy, win ugly type of quarterback matters. Look at Drake May. Obviously, he's athletic and talented as those guys, but you need to have some size. Tua, I think one of the things that hurt him is he just wasn't built for that conference, that division, I should say. Whereas now where he's in Atlanta. I think he's going to do a lot better if he's healthy because of the dome. So I think Beck fits what you need there. They had Mark Sanchez, kind of a defensive-oriented team. He did his thing. But for a little bit. But the Jets really, man, I kind of like that situation for him because he could play. They got young players. Obviously, New York pressure is going to be a lot, but he's dealt with a lot of pressure. He's been a pretty high-profile guy for a while. I don't know. That's the one. If you ask me, gun to my head, where does he go? I've been saying the Jets. That one makes sense to me.
Phil says they have pick 104. They might have to trade up for him. I think 104 sounds about right. Top 100, just outside of the top 100.
Or they pick him in the second, man. I think he could.
Or they pick him in a second. Yeah, I'm just being conservative with it. But, like we keep saying it with this quarterback class, D, but who's out there? After Mendoza and Ty Simpson.
And Ty Simpson is, to me, with that lack of experience,
I think he's going first round, though.
Right. But it's saying, like, he's not a first rounder that you're, like, feeling great about. It's like he will he'll be the second quarterback pick. I'm not saying that's shaky. I'm just saying he himself as a prospect, given that he's been injured, he's not that big, he's not that talented in terms of, like, NFL, a guy you would say is
some might say the same about Beck, besides outside of the being big enough, obviously Beckett, but
the experience. The difference is the experience. Ty Simpson started one season. Beck has started 3 very long seasons. He's 38-6 as a starter or something like that. The experience factor. Tyler Shuck was a 6-year player. We saw what he did as a rookie. It was awesome. Jackson Dart was a super experienced player. He did pretty nice job as a rookie. Cam Ward was a number 1 overall pick. Obviously, situation wasn't that good, but I don't think they would change that pick. They would be
doing him. By the way, if they don't draft an offensive lineman, they're doing him a disservice. D.
Let's talk about that because now they're talking about Tennessee. So Sergio says, "Do you think Cam is going to reunite with a Miami teammate in Tennessee?" I've seen Bain there from people that are reputable, just because they think that with Robert Saleh, that fits what he's trying to do. And I could see that, but I think in a perfect world, the Cardinals don't take Malinois and the Jets don't take Malinois. I don't think they would. They've been drafting a lot of offensive linemen. So really it's that Cardinals pick. If the Cardinals don't take Malinois, if I'm Tennessee, I am sprinting with that card up to take this guy. I think that's just such a no-brainer to me. Fit.
Yeah, they need O-line, man. They need O-line. We saw what Cam could do with protection in Miami. Without protection, throughout the other parts of his career, it hasn't looked the same. So get him an O-line.
Canes Chronicle saying, any recruits on campus for pro day? Yes, Elijah Kimball, the running back from Buffalo, will be on campus for pro day. So
a lot of spring breaks for guys across the country. So should have some people trickling in.
Yeah, you're going to see the visits pick up a ton when spring practice starts.
April 9th weekend. I know they have a big weekend.
They have a big one there, but also the 27th, 28th, which would
this weekend.
Yeah, so like coming up now, that's going to be a huge, huge visit week. We'll cover all those. We're going to have a lot of exclusive interviews too, because I'm going to be back and I'll be interviewing a lot of kids. So we'll keep an eye on that. But I think for this pro day, it's going to be Elijah Kimball. So I'm not. I guess Jackson Smith and Jibba just got $168 million. So I was on campus on Thursday, and he was hanging around the campus. He was on Green Tree, Jackson Smith and Jibba. He was running around, hanging out. So pretty cool environment for the Canes. You got these multi-millionaires that didn't even go to your school, just hanging out, working out.
Surprised he didn't go to Tampa with his boy Hartline, man.
He knows where to be. He knows the Miami is the spot. So, yeah, this is going to be fun, man. Pro day. Obviously, Pete, the first pro day, the John Ford year, where, again, I'll let you brag about it. You were the guy saying John Ford is going to get drafted. That was the only draft pick in 2022 draft, which was basically Manny's last team. It's gotten a lot better now.
It's gotten a lot better. It's gotten a lot better, man. It's I'm sticking with that 9-11, D. I'm sticking with that 9-11.
And I want to get into that also with I should point out Marion. We haven't talked about him. You mentioned, I think, briefly. The only thing with Marion, and this is not on him, this is on me. I don't understand yet how kick return value functions with the new rules, because I think that will help him if it is something that is valued, because he was such a good kick returner 2 years ago. And last year he wasn't bad at all. He just didn't get that many kickoffs. Teams weren't scoring too many points, and the ones they did went in the end zone. But I'm curious to see how the new kickoff rules in the NFL affect a guy's stock like a Keelan Marion, who is maybe could be your 5th, 6th receiver. He probably could be he hasn't done he hasn't covered kicks. I think he maybe could do it. He's got the size to do it, and he could definitely be the returner. So he'll be a fun guy to watch. What do you think he runs?
Mid 4.4s.
Yeah, I agree. That's where I'd see it there too.
Yeah, maybe like 4.45, 4.46, 4.47.
Be fun, man. So yeah, stay tuned for Pete. He'll be out there. Real quick before we get into this next segment, want to shout out my boy Rob at ZONIN, ZONIN Prosecco. 200 plus years of wine making experience over there in Italy, in the old world, and bringing that to the United States of America. I got Rob distributing it all over the country. Talking about Total Wines everywhere. I know pretty much wherever you're at, you guys got a Total Wine down the block. You can get ZONIN Prosecco there. Restaurants like Olive Garden. I mean, this is a mainstream deal nationwide. If you're local, you talk about Jensen Liquors, you can get it. ABC, Publix, ZONIN Prosecco. Make sure you ask for it. This is best value according to Wine Spectator magazine, 90 rating by James Suckling, the Larry Bluestein of wine. And if you don't have it, ask for it. Support a fellow Cane, and also just get yourself some high quality, high value Prosecco that is sweeping the United States. That is ZONIN Prosecco. There you look at that party right there with that tuna tataki, those 2 little tuna steaks, some sliced cheese. That's a classy affair, and that is what you get with ZONIN. And look, if you're looking for some food and you don't have the nice ZONIN charcuterie, how about this right here? You see it representing in Colorado, Islas Canarias Cuban Express. I got the Croqueta County t-shirt. You can get that t-shirt, which people always ask, the official CanesInSight t-shirt of Croqueta County at croquetacounty.com. If you just want to grab a bite, Islas Canarias Cuban Express, Dayland Mall Dining Pavilion, 7 different types of croquetas, including gluten-free. For those of you who don't eat gluten, they got gluten-free croquetas. Only, as far as I know, the only place that has gluten-free croquetas that I'm aware of, Islas Canarias Cuban Express. Got the loaded tostones, loaded fries, all the classic Cuban sandwiches, cubaditos to grab and go. Perfect place to grab a bite for lunch right there, centrally located in the Dayland Mall Dining Pavilion, in the middle of the city. Desserts, Cuban coffees to get rolling. Mario's going to maybe stop by there for these recruiting visits to be ready to rock, get some energy after spring practice. It's the spot, and they even have tequeños for our Venezuelan brothers and sisters. So shout out to Islas Canarias Cuban Express in the Dayland Mall Dining Pavilion. All right, Pete. So which way you want to take it? You tell me.
Let's talk Amir Sears.
Yeah, let's talk Amir Sears, man. So Amir Sears won the Belen track meet. Let's just start from the beginning for those who don't know, although he is kind of a name brand at this point as we get to a crystal ball prediction. Amir Sears, 2028 athlete. Jalen Ramsey comps. He can play safety, he can play nickel, he can play quarter. He is a really good receiver as well. Was at West Broward, made a huge stir, which is his ability to make plays early in his career. Transferred to Miami Columbus with the whole commitment out, like the whole portal graphic and everything. We're getting now these transfer portal announcements for high school. He is a 5-star player, the number 1 athlete in the class of 2028. A lot of buzz he may reclass to the class of 27. We'll see how that plays out. But just got a crystal ball from Rivals. EJ Holland over there put a crystal ball in for Amir Sears to Miami. We've been saying all of our sourcing is that this guy is trending towards the Canes, lifelong Canes fan. I know that for a fact. We've had Coach Duaso, who coached them at the 7-on-7 circuit, talk about that. But this guy is a complete stud. Now running track, I mentioned earlier, won the high jump at the track meet, jump in 1.82 meters, 5'11 and a half, and he's just starting, right? So this is something that's going to continue to go, but this is one of the best athletes in America. He could play anywhere in the defensive backfield. You know, he kind of reminds me of Pete, J.J. Dunnigan from this past class. When you talk to people about J.J. Dunnigan, they say he could play corner at the college level. He could play corner, he could play nickel, he could play safety, he could return kicks. He played receiver in high school. just an all-around player, physical as well, long, lanky,
Big,
talented.
looks big, man. That was what I took away from the track stuff too.
Yeah.
Like the frame, he just looks. Sometimes with these guys, you see them running track, and you can really say, hey, man, they may need a couple years in the weight room program and all that. He looks the part, man. But that's what you get with it. That's why he's the number one player in his class, right? Shouldn't really be a surprise, but you always talk about it with these guys who are potential reclass guys. Is it the best thing for their careers? Are they ready for that physical nature that's going to come with getting to college a year early? He's not someone that I concern that sort of thing with. I mean, I think he'll be ready to go once he steps on campus if he were to reclassify, which again is not official.
Totally agree. I think he's one that I'm not as worried about. Like you mentioned, quarterback, like a guy like Neiman Lawrence, I think stay in school, get more reps. This guy's just such an athlete, and he's so advanced as a football player. If you pull up some highlights of him, if you can, so we can put some video to what we're talking about. But I want to get to some comments. Daquan Griffith saying Sears, J.J. Dunnigan, and Fitzgerald would be a crazy secondary. That's true, man. These are some supreme athletes that Miami's bringing in the secondary with those guys in particular. The theme with all three of those particular players, Amir Sears, J.J. Dunnigan, Bryce Fitzgerald, is they do everything, man. They offense, defense, special teams. They have size. They have track speed. They all run track. Yeah, the ball skills. So those guys in particular, I think you're getting closer to that NFL level secondary where Buchanan goes first round, Ruff goes first round, Anshul Roll goes first round, Sean Taylor goes first round, Ed Reed goes first round. So you're trying to get to. It's been done before. It could happen again. But, I mean, this dude right here, look at that. So that's against, I believe, that's against Cardinal Gibbons, so real competition. You see the size already. This is his sophomore year. Tracking the ball, making the catch, breaking the tackle. You're seeing at safety. Just great instincts, reading the quarterback the whole way. And then, boom, breaks on it full speed cutting. And then he puts on, I mean, Pete, that highlight right there. You wonder why he's the number one athlete in the country. And look at the arrogance that this guy plays with, the athletic arrogance that this guy has. Some guys, you've seen it, Pete. Not only do they just move different, but they just move so confidently. Look at him, catches the ball with his hands, immediately gets upfield. Oof. Put about 4 moves on that safety right there. I mean, Pete, I don't know. You've seen a lot of players.
And you talk about athletic arrogance, and I'll say this, like, he's going into it. It's hard to say like a pressure situation. Like he's in high school, right? It's not, the stakes aren't as high as they'll be when he gets to the next level and all that. But he's going into a situation at Columbus where he's expected now, after Columbus had, their most, I would say, one of the most disappointing seasons in recent history. Really not a good year for Columbus. He's going in there with a lot of people expecting him as the number one player in his class to just like, hey, we're going to go win state again now because you're here and other guys that have come along with him. But I like that he's taking that on his shoulders, right? There's some guys who, like, he's not joining a situation that there's already a powerhouse team in place. And yes, Columbus, we understand, has had some of those teams in the past, but that's not what this is right now. Or at least it wasn't that last year. So he's coming here to be like, hey, we're bringing this thing back, which I like that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, it's a good point. He is dealing with pressure. Obviously, it's a portal in high school with an announcement, so that's just unusual. But he is under a lot of pressure with that program, which has been a historically good football program, historically excellent football program, and the whole sports program right now is peaking. Here you see him playing corner. One thing with him that jumps out, and you see him in high jump, and that's where his track skills lie. And you say, all right, well, that means he could jump high. Yeah, that's part of it, but it's also his acceleration. You see when he's running routes, he really explodes off the line for a taller, lankier guy. I think that's where the high jump comes in, just that burst, that ability to explode and accelerate and sink his hips and explode forward, which you don't always get with these taller players. Again, he could play receiver, he could play safety, he could play nickel. I've heard that he could maybe the expectation is where he's going to actually be, similar to what Jalen Ramsey is as that outside corner, which you see him play on these highlights. Like, I think that is where a lot of people expect him to really flourish, is as what you saw him right there, as an outside corner because of his length, because he has enough speed to do it. because he has enough ball skills to do it. But he, as you see right there, he's physical tackler too, man. You could put him in the box. You really could put him anywhere. And there was a comment earlier that I wanted to point out as we keep watching these highlights, where our guy Kevin Dennis says Sears will make up for missing on Pat Peterson in 2007. At that time, he was Patrick Johnson. Ended up being probably a Hall of Famer out of Boyd Anderson. And really, Pete, we've missed on so many of these guys. You talk about Patrick Peterson, I thought was the most blatant, but Xavier Rhodes was a Pro Bowler in a similar spot. Jalen Ramsey himself, even though he's not a South Florida guy, grew up.
And Rhodes like a 3-star, wasn't he?
Yeah, he wasn't a big recruit, but he went to Florida State when they were like really.
Yeah, but I don't remember if we even recruited him. D.
Might have missed him.
I think we might have missed him, like how we did with what's his name, Devontae Freeman.
Yeah, and
that was really late on that one.
They were both on the championship team. That was a heavy South Florida team for Florida State that won the championship. Patrick Surtain, obviously, Tyson Campbell. I mean, these are guys that you knew they were highly rated guys. Not as much Rhodes, not as much, but you knew those guys were going to be good, and they ended up being, in Surtain's case, Defensive Player of the Year, Hall of Fame track. Tyson Campbell just signed a huge deal a couple of years ago. So you cannot live in that 4th, 5th round for your best corners. The only corner we've produced that's really truly big time in the pros right now is Mike Jackson, and that was a very long road to get there. So you got to get back to getting these first round, no doubt, like the Derek Stingley types, right? You got to just get those guys to be a national championship type of team. Now, Indiana didn't necessarily have those guys this year, but Indiana, they had pretty good corners too, both from South Florida, by the way, both running 4.3 in D'Angelo Pons and Sharp. So important position that typically over the years has had a lot of blue chip elite players on those national championship winners. Ohio State, we know what they do at corner. We know what Alabama did at corner for so many years. Georgia, you can't scrap this position together. Look, I thought the Canes had very good corner play this year. Younger guys, you got to keep it going and keep elevating. I think Sears would represent that top level where I could easily see this guy developing into a very high NFL draft pick, which is why he is rated as the number 1 athlete in the class of 28. And I'm pretty sure if he reclasses into 27 and sign with the Canes, that would be a 5-star player to add to that resume. That's our first round player.
Got to keep stacking them, man, because look, you're going to have Lanier and Malachi at the same time. You could potentially, if he reclasses here, you could have, and yeah, I mean, he's going to be, you start stacking these sort of talents on top of each other, D, it's a different ball game. It's one thing to say, hey, we got one of them on the roster. Now you get 3 of them.
Yeah, no, and you talk about the 7-on-7 Raw versus South Florida Express, which is on the OT7 live stream. I haven't seen it yet. I got to go watch it. There's been a lot of comments about it, but Chris Brown saying Amir Sears and Nick Lanier were the stars of that 7-on-7. Sears shut down the Ohio State 5-star. So, yeah, you're not just talking about Nick Lanier. You're talking about Nick Lanier and an Amir Sears and a Mark Matthews. We'll see on the reclass. Of all the reclasses, this one to me, I've heard.
I'm saying like you're stacking them on the roster because Malachi would be here too if this guy reclasses.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Obviously, you those are South Florida guys. You still get the Jackson Canwells of the world, the JJ Dunningans of the world, Midwest. You know what's funny, Pete? If you ask me what the formula is for the Canes right now, like in terms of like this team and the next couple teams, it's kind of Midwest and Dade and South Florida, right? Because if you look at the South Florida guys on this team, you're talking about Moten, Blunt, obviously Malachi, obviously Mark Fletcher, right? Some of those kind of guys, even Ryan Rodriguez snapping it, Josh Moore, right? Frederic, Lucas, Bryce Fitzgerald. There's a lot of South Florida guys. But then who are the other big-time guys? Talk about Justin Scott from Chicago, 5-star, going to have a huge year. Marquise Lightfoot, 5-star for Chicago, going to have a huge year. JJ Dunnigan is, again, the 2 freshmen I've heard the most about for next year's class, like the guys that are here right now. And you'll see them tomorrow. We're going to continue to talk about these guys. But right now, if you ask me, where is the buzz concentrated? Jackson Canwell, JJ Dunnigan, 2 guys from Missouri and Kansas. So it's kind of been dominate the Midwest and then get the best from South Florida. Obviously, Amir Sears, that's the best of South Florida. So kind of interesting the way this whole thing is shaken out.
Sergio says, take it easy, Pete. Nick Lanier announces top 5 and freak everyone out. Look, I think he sticks with Miami, but I said it the other day. I'd be more surprised if he doesn't take visits than if he does.
Yeah, we needed content that day.
Well, I mean, that's he posted
he did us a favor. He did us a favor. Yeah. I'm not saying we made it up. It was the real thing. You know, it was just it was very fortuitous, man. We were grateful for that content from our guy. Let's get into. I want to talk some Canes hoops real quick. I want to shout out my boy Orchid Man, ORCHID man, Florida.com. You can see these trucks all over South Florida. You see that OM truck, you know what it is, that logo right there at the top of your screen. That means the best in the business. South Florida's premier landscape artisans, serving Palm Beach down to the Florida Keys. 10% off your first service for a limited time only. 786-271-0332. ORCHIDmanflorida.com. They'll run your whole process, not just the pretty stuff with the flowers and the design, but also the maintenance, the irrigation, the tree stump grinding, all the stuff you need for your residential or commercial property. Only the best. Orchid Man, Florida. There's a reason why you see these trucks everywhere you go. This is the top dog, ORCHIDmanflorida.com. Also got to shout out KashKick, man. A lot of free time as we're waiting. While you're waiting between this show and then Pete's afternoon show, which you're going to see a bunch of them this week, live from the Grape 8. You have some free time. Give that free time a raise. Download the KashKick app, KashKick, in the App Store. 4.5 plus average rating, 1.5 million plus downloads. You download the app, mess around, play games, do surveys, browse the web, and extra money goes into your account on PayPal. It's that simple. One of the biggest apps in the country. It is that easy. Doing stuff you're probably already doing anyways, and you get some extra money on the side. KashKick in the App Store. All right, Pete, so I know this is a segment you've been waiting for. As we turn the page, starting with our guy Josh Sarnoff, he'll start us off right. The impresario of Scrap City, one of the top youth tennis players back in his day, says, "Got to jump, but big gratitude for Canes Hoops for a fun season and a revival of hope and optimism with our guy Jay Lucas." Hope and optimism is the theme I want to seize on, because you see it in the comments, Pete. Kyle right here is already talking about mixing and matching the roster. Like the offseason, we've had the last 2 off seasons been like how we fix Canes Hoops, right? Now, I wouldn't say it's been excitement. It's been more, it was interesting to us because we care and we want to see how the pieces all fit, but it wasn't like jumping over the moon of excitement. Now it feels like we got a lot of excitement with this team, seeing how the pieces are going to fit, seeing we just had a whole brand new team. So, there's a chance for some big movement. Cool graphic here to keep it in order. Let's walk through next year's roster and how it's going to look potentially.
Yeah, so we have the roster tracker. I got to get with Trenton, man. We should probably have him move Jay Lucas to the right a little bit so you can see the R in track. And we got to put Caleb Gaskins as an incoming player, as a signed recruit. But you're obviously losing the big 3 of transfers. True Washington's a transfer from last year too, but he's got another year of eligibility here. But as you see on the graphic there, Trey Donaldson, Malik Renew, in terms of not only what they brought scoring wise, and then Trey is just like the tempo setter and really a vocal leader of the team, and a dog who we saw can win you games in March, who won a game for Miami against Missouri. And look, if I could have another year as with him as your point guard, man, that would have been great. It would have been nice to have him, another year here, but that's what it is with him. Obviously, he's headed to the next level. Malik Renew, awesome season. Not his best yesterday, but really as a former 5-star recruit from Florida, I think that, and then you see the emotion that he showed in his post-game presser and what playing for Miami meant for him. And I hope that that's the sort of thing that other guys from South Florida, that, whether they see that video or not, but just kind of like Malik can be a story that you can point to and say, hey, look, former 5-star recruit, went to the Indiana, the big powerhouse blue blood program, did solid things there, but then he came back to Miami and he got the most out of really what his skill set was. And then Ernest Uday, he was another guy who was really one of the more vocal leaders of this team. Defensively, monster, really good rebounder for this team. And it was, man, for as much as we both love Norchad Omier, it had been a while since you had a big man who played with that sort of not only the ferocity, because Omier played with that ferocity, but you're talking about a 6'11" player, right? Lynn Kidd was here last year and, played for this program for a year. So we were thankful for that, but you're looking at a different sort of beast there with Uday. So he's going to be a huge thing to replace. So right off the bat, you're going to need a point guard and you're going to need a big man in terms of another center there to replace Uday. And those should be, I think, priority number 1 and number 2 in the portal outside of, wing scoring and wing shooting, D. But Shelton Henderson, as you see here, this is the undecided thing because of what we have as the portal is what it is, right? Until these guys say they're coming back, then we don't know 100% for sure. But Shelton Henderson, as we've said here for a while, has trended towards returning for another year here. True Washington, I think, as a 6-man this year was awesome, provided a really good spark. I think was a lot more offensively than I think we probably projected coming in, D. And with another offseason, would love to see what he looks like. But I'll say he was a 6-man this year. Dante Allen was a super consistent player as a freshman for Miami. I think has more levels to his game as his shot continues to develop and the confidence grows offensively. But we'll see. Does True Washington want to come back to potentially be a 6-man again? That'll be a decision that he has to make. From what I've heard early on, he's very tight with this staff. Loves Miami, loves what this last season brought. So we'll see if they can retain him. But I think he'd be a very valuable piece to bring back here.
Yeah, let's start there because that's to me in terms of like the guys that we are bringing back. That's the one that's circled. Like I would hate to lose True Washington for whatever reason. I mean, he is so valuable. Down the stretch, he was probably, to me, playing his best basketball, at least in terms of impacting these tough games. I think there's more there offensively. He's never going to be a dominant offensive player, but I think there's more there. He's one of the best defensive players in the conference. He's not afraid of the moment, right? He makes some, misses some, but he's made some big shots down the stretch. Definitely effort-wise and competitive-wise was good down the stretch. I would, as much as I love Dante Allen, I don't want to have to choose between those two. I'd like to bring back both. So that's kind of like the first offseason question I have as far as the guys coming back. And then the other one, obviously, and this is bigger than basketball, but first Marcus Allen, you want his treatment to continue to go the way it's supposed to go, and that prognosis and everything else to be as good as it can be. That's obviously kind of off the court priority number 1. I mean, priority number 2, I mean, the guy is a really good player. He could have helped us this year a ton, if not for of course, dealing with the nightmare he had to deal with. So I don't know. I mean, have you heard anything on Marcus Allen in terms of how he might fit next year, both for his own health and then for the team?
First of all, the broadcast said the other day he has one more chemo treatment left. So, I mean, that has to be a good sign, no?
Yeah.
So that's one. He's been practicing with the team, D. So, that I think that goes a long way in terms of like what the reintegration process would look like for him, because he's been around and he's been participating to a certain degree, right? I don't know what the full, but Coach CY, who was on with us a few weeks back, was the one who told us that. So, man, he would have been a valuable piece for this game yesterday in terms of some of that length and defensive physicality that you needed on the perimeter against a Purdue there. So you're talking about a guy who was a former top 60 recruit in the country, D.
And played well early.
Played really well early. It wouldn't have surprised me to see him work his way into the starting lineup this year either, by the way.
So that one of the things I want to get on when we teed up this subject, Purdue played 8 guys over 15 minutes. We played 6. We had 6 players. I know Timo played like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
The game before you had Dovrod playing a little bit, but we really had 6 players when we needed it, whereas Purdue had at least 8. So I think that's where an Allen made a huge difference, because he would have easily been that 7th guy, and you would have felt good with him in pretty much any matchup because of the way he's built and the versatility he brings. So yeah, we missed him a lot this year. Obviously, there's a whole lot more than just a basketball player on the injured list with this situation. But yeah, that's the other one. Him and True. Those are the two. Like, you told me True Washington is here in our lineup next year. Marcus Allen is healthy, everything clear, everything good, and in the lineup playing basketball. Those are 2 big versatile pieces right there to complement Dante Allen and Shelton Henderson, which I think we both agree are the framework of the deal. Although Henderson's got a decision to make himself based on coming off a very good performance.
Yeah, he's got a decision to make. It wouldn't, we have to kind of remind people that he can test the NBA waters and go through the combine process, which he probably should do. Like, if you're afforded that opportunity and you're invited, there's no reason for you not to go through the combine process. But just to get yourself ready and expose yourself to scouts, it's a cool part of the NBA process that, the NFL side isn't. It would be cool to see some of the underclassmen go do pro day today, for example. That'd be kind of cool. But to me, he's leaning to, everything I've heard is he's leaning towards coming back. And the way they've constructed this roster, just looking at, because I've seen the sentiment on social media a little bit like, hey, there's no way they only have one high school guy coming in here. Well, that one high school guy is Mr. Basketball, state of Florida. You see the 2 guys who were freshmen this year, Trey Maddox, who was a 4-star, was not eligible academic reasons, but their 2 freshmen this year from the high school ranks played a lot. Jay has said at times in press conferences this year, like, he doesn't want to bring in a freshman just to bring in a freshman. He's probably going to end up transferring if he's not playing. So you're losing on paper right now 3 for sure, D. You have 1 coming in Gaskins. You left a roster spot open, an extra roster spot open this year, from my understanding. You had another scholarship. You're going to go get at least 2 transfers. And then, from my understanding, probably going to go get another Euro sort of guy who, look, varying levels of success with the 3 guys you brought in this year. I think Timo Malovic, a lot more to work with there than maybe you saw this season. Sali was a disappointment, quite frankly, in terms of the role that he played. I was hoping to get a lot more. I knew he wasn't going to be a double-double guy off the bench or anything like that. But I just wish that when you brought him in there, you could expect for him to, get a putback here or there.
Yeah, better hands.
To stay in, better hands. Didn't matriculate that way. Dovrad, I think we saw his value as the season went on. Maybe in a game like this, we're just really concerned with maybe the defensive side of the floor.
Yeah,
but I think you bring him back. I think you bring him back though, D, and you expect for him to be a 12 to 14 minute type of guy for you next year.
It's health with him. He doesn't look quick enough, and I know that he's never going to be, Russell Westbrook. But if he could just get 10% quicker, with his size and the way he could shoot, the way he could pass, he could definitely be that guy. But to me, that's just a pure. We saw at the beginning of the year. Remember, the first practice we went to, which was like the media practice, which was open to the media right before the season. He didn't even practice, if I recall. Like he was not really that healthy before the season.
And look, he plays a role. He plays a certain role, but he needs to be adequate enough that he's not going to be a complete target on the other side of the floor, right? Now, again, talking to some people who are very, well connected in this, space, and looking ahead here in terms of like what this roster is going to look like. The number one thing that we have to highlight here is that potential Shelton Henderson, Caleb Gaskins duo. We understand that right off the bat this year, Shelton wasn't maybe as fully formed as he is now, and he's still nowhere near what his ceiling is going to be. But you can now, after seeing what you saw from Henderson yesterday, what do you have? 18 points, 9 for 11 from the field, like super efficient performance. And you can just project with another offseason what that's going to look like. Pairing him with Gaskins is going to give you, this is not coming from me, but coming from people who are way more versed on the national landscape and what it's going to look like next year, D. That duo athletically, and Gaskins is farther along than Shelton was on the offensive side of the floor in terms of jump shooting, the ability to create his own jump shot than Shelton was coming in. That duo can be very, very special, D.
So you look at to me, I'm looking at this column with the grad NBA. That's really what this is about. How are you going to replace those guys and then take it to another level where you go past the first, past the first weekend. So Renew, I don't think Gaskin is going to replace them like for like because they're just different types of players. But Gaskin seems like he's going to play a lot. Shelton Henderson played a lot. I had to pull up Shelton Henderson's total minutes this year, but he did not, they didn't ease him in at all. He played a ton. I'm just trying to find his total minutes. 31 minutes a game. So, you put Gaskins with 31 minutes a game. That's going to take a lot of what Renew did. Donaldson, that's going to involve some Dante Allen kind of elevation, I think, taking those. And then you'll also probably see a guy there. We'll talk about that.
No, they definitely will. They're going to definitely bring in a point guard.
Ude, there is someone in the portal already who I think we could talk about because he's in the portal already, who Pete, I think, is a natural fit for some of that role. And by the way, those three were awesome, which is why we're talking about these guys, because they were so critical and made such a huge impact on this program. They're the ones you really got to figure out how to replace. With Ude, what did you, who's the guy you're eyeing to potentially replace him?
Yes, and we talked about this last week. Eric Dabami from FIU, guy who, similar sort of skill set. I think Ude might be a little springier than him at this point, but in terms of just the pure production, you're looking at the way he turned it on near the end of the year as a freshman, first team all freshman in conference, second team all defense, and he's someone who fits the profile of what you're looking for. You don't need someone who is going to be necessarily. Yes, it would be nice. It would be an added bonus if the guy has a low post offensive game and is facilitating for people out of the low post and all that. It can hit like an 18-foot jumper. I don't think that's in his game at this point. But you're looking at a guy who, at the very least, right, raises your floor as potentially your second big man, right? Maybe he's not your number one, but maybe he's a guy who's a rotational big for you because you still want the ability to throw bodies at him. You just didn't have after Malik and Ernest, and we were trying to figure it out, D, in the beginning of the year is, hey, are they going to have some small ball lineups to go to and stuff and maybe take Ude out and play Malik at the 5? That we didn't really see it that much. Like, there were times it happened, but they played so much together. That was never really the case. And I think a lot of it was just because of the sheer minutes they had to play. There wasn't much behind them that you could trust. Again, Marcus Allen getting hurt. Timo having to play a 4 role, which that's not really. He's really more of a guy who's on the ball or a wing, and so he was playing out of position there as well. So with all that being said, I think they're going to want to bring in another complementary big. So maybe that's what he is. Look, I think he's good enough to be a starter at Miami, especially with another off season. But the early word I've gotten is they will be going big game hunting here, D. Exactly. I don't. That's they're going to be going after a premier player in the portal here that will command multi-million dollars. Who that is, I don't know, but that's the early word here. And if you can add one of those pieces to what you have coming back, and then fill in a couple other complementary spots, I feel phenomenal about this thing.
And that's after having a great year where you could sell it a lot easier than you did last year. And last year, look what you added. I mean, that was just on hope. Now you have hope and some, more than some, just ability to sell. One guy I want to talk about, Pete, real quick, was Timo Malovich, because we talked about him a ton, really, since he signed. And I keep going back to Sam Wardenberg. And Sam Wardenberg, when you look at his career, I remember when he signed, he was out of New Zealand, right? If I recall. Mm-hmm. He redshirted his first year, which who redshirts, basketball that's eligible? That's very rare. Next year, he plays 14 minutes a game, let's say 15 minutes a game. Year after that, he gets to 25 minutes a game. Then he goes to 28 minutes a game. Redshirts again. He didn't play 2021. I don't know if he was hurt. I forgot why he didn't play. And then his last year, his 6th year of college, 6th year at Miami. Forget 6th year of college. 6th year at Miami. 6 years in basketball, one school. He plays 30 minutes a game and is starts 34 games and is a big part of an Elite Eight team. So I'm not saying it's going to be a 6-year track for Timo, but I think to Wardenberg and the improvement he made, that if he sticks with it and that we stick with him and that relationship continues, he could develop into a guy that plays a huge role in this team. It just is going to take a little bit of time. And I don't know in this portal era with these Euros how that works out, but I think not saying he plays exactly like Wardenberg, but that path gives me hope that Timo's got a lot more to him than playing 3 minutes in a tournament game.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in him. Had 9 games with 2 or more threes, which I think is his role. And as the rotation kind of tightened up at the end of the year, I don't know that he was necessarily like ready to just come out there cold and play his best. I know you have to be ready in those situations, but I just don't. It seemed tough for him. And again, he's a guy who gets a lot of hate in the comments I see in social media. I think people just are looking at him in a vacuum and saying, "Oh, well, he's going out there and he's taking a shot and he's not making it." Again, played out of position. This is not. I keep going back to what he did over the summer with the Slovakian national team, right? In the European pre-qualifiers with the full national team. This was not the under 21 team or anything like that. This was the real national team, and he averaged by the way, he was their point guard, right? This was not completely different role, which is why I think like he needs to have the ball in his hands more than he had this year, and kind of let him. Some people may think that's crazy, but kind of let him be that point forward, right? And facilitate a little more. He averaged 22.5 points, 7.8 rebounds, and shot 42% from 3. So did this guy just forget how to shoot the ball? I don't think that he did. I think that the speed of the game was a little bit different for him. It took an adjustment period for him. Kyle says my European bias is showing through here. I see a skill set with him, D.
I agree with you totally, by the way.
I don't see the confidence there yet. I'm not saying the player is where he needs to be yet. But what's his pedigree here, D? He's the guy's coming from a big-time program in Mega Basket, right? So, like, that's the other part of it. This is he was playing for a big club over there that has traditionally produced guys. This wasn't like a bad evaluation. I think they just need to continue to have him develop confidence, man. And I think it's going to take a lot of gym work from him to getting the shot back to, I think, where he came in with. I think he lost confidence with the shot throughout the season. But I don't want to see a guy with that skill set just enter the portal.
Totally agree. And that's one to watch. Anyone else, Pete, in terms of the guys that are coming back? I know Maddox was a 4-star with this kind of strange recruitment that ended up missing the year for eligibility reasons, but is part of this program. Anyone else that we haven't touched on that could help us next year?
You know what? I'll give a shout out here to John LeBoy. D. He came in. I forget what game it was. He came in when Miami was a little bit short. Hit a couple threes, I think. This is a guy from Houston, played for John Lucas, the AAU program, Jay's brother's AAU program, who was supposed to go to Columbia University, play point guard there. And from my understanding, he was going to, would have been a big player for them. Big time shooter, physically looks the part, strong kid, can handle the ball a little bit. I'm not counting him out as a guy who can make a year-to-year jump here and potentially because, okay, we just talked about it. You got Dante. Let's hope that Dante and True come back here, D. You have probably going to bring in, let's say you bring in a transfer. That'll be 3 guards right there. Shelton Henderson can be an extra ball handler for you. But it would be nice to have another guy who can handle the ball for you if need be. And I think LeBoy could potentially be that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to watch. See if that could happen. I've noticed him on the bench. You're right. He does look the part. He looks
really
like,
good shooter. Really good shooter. Really, I mean, like Dovrat's the best shooter on the team, but in terms of just lining up in practice, from what I understand, like he's got a stroke. So
and healthier than Dovrat, right?
Yeah. So it might be a bit of a projection there. You know, he might be limited athletically, but I'm not counting him out as a guy who could be a potential contributor here. We get caught up in the big name stuff, but if he stays here another year in the program, look, he may move. I don't know what his plans are. Maybe we get a post here the next week that he's, you know, is going to move on and maybe he wants to go try to play somewhere else. But he would be someone that I'm maybe looking at there.
So we'll keep you posted. If you guys like and subscribe, we'll let you know all these movements. Pete's got the plugs with basketball that no one can match, and obviously we follow it year round. So we will be keeping you up to date on all of the moves in basketball, all the portal moves, all the recruiting moves, everything going on. We will be all over that. By the way, congrats to my guy Eddie Garcia, who's part of the group that owns Duffy's Tavern. He was inducted into the Belen Jesuit Hall of Fame. I was out there to see my guy Tom Yamas, another CanesInSight fan, NBC Nightly News anchor, get inducted as well. So a lot of CanesInSight presence at the Belen Hall of Fame induction. But Duffy's Tavern, man, pinball is becoming a thing out there on top of 60-plus years of tradition, now accepting credit cards, the home of the Hurricanes. You go out there, you play some pinball. Look, they got the Pokemon, the Pikachu pinball coming soon. So if you're a pinball fan, you like to compete, they keep score, they take it real serious out there, Duffy's Tavern will have you covered. Or if you just want to get a drink, watch some college basketball, watch some sports, relax in the home of the Hurricanes for 60-plus years, Duffy's Tavern right there on 57th is your spot. You might catch a wild Peter Ariz out there at Duffy's Tavern, the home of the Hurricanes. And if you want to commemorate this run, which was a very special run, team that was just very easy to like, very fun to watch, commemorate it forever with the March Madness apparel at the Miami Hurricane team store, MiamiHTS.com. Also baseball, football, you know, NIL, like autographs and jerseys and all that kind of stuff. They got that there as well. LeFavor, if you want to be styling and profiling, Insight 20 will get you 20% off your first items. Go to MiamiHTS.com or in person right next to the Thesis Hotel across the street from the University of Miami, MiamiHTS.com.
Last thing I'll say on basketball, the really crazy part of the season is outside of the Virginia game in the ACC tournament, you pretty much went the whole season without having a game. You're like, man, this team laid down. They really just didn't have it today. Yeah, were there some shooting performances that weren't great? That even the FSU loss at home was like at that point the most frustrating loss. That now looking back on it, they went 10-2 in the ACC after their bad first 6 games that they played. But the effort level was awesome, and like you said, fun team to watch. Jay Lucas will, you know, the sentiment of, oh well, enjoy him while he's here. Of course, I think we got to be like that with any coach, right? Mario Cristobal could get burnt out next year and not want to coach anymore. I don't think that's going to be the case. But we got to enjoy every coach that we like here that is doing well. Of course, enjoy them while they're here. We're in a very unique situation with the football program, with Mario having played here. That's obviously the case. But as I continue to say with Jay Lucas, yeah, is he going to be here 20 years? Most likely not. But can he continue to raise the level of what the view of this basketball program is? And then if he leaves in a few years, guess what? It's going to be on the people making the hires to get it right. But I'll tell you what, and you know how this is, D, without getting too much into the equation on basketball, right? athletic directors have a very, very big say in hires, right? But the people who have had their hand in the basketball hires, the last 2 hires have done a damn good job hiring Jim Larinaga and hiring Jay Lucas, and it's been the same people. I'll just say that. So can you?
And they're not going anywhere.
And they're not going anywhere. They're here to stay. As I take a sip out of my Columbus glass here. But can we just appreciate all these? Oh, he might be gone next year. Maybe he is. But guess what? The program is in an awesome place right now. This is a top 25 job in the country.
South Florida players getting better, that's a fixed deal that affects the job.
So it is the reality of the situation that, you're probably not going to have the guy for his whole career. He's 38 years old, and I just had the biggest turnaround in 1 year history of the NCAA. Yeah, you're probably not going to keep him for 10 years. I'll keep saying it. But guess what? He can raise the trajectory of where this thing is going so that the next head coach you hire, maybe he's not an assistant coach from a top program. And I say that with no slight and disrespect to it. But when he was hired, and we were both advocates for the hire, what were people saying? Oh, man, this just shows you where Miami's job is in the grand scheme of things, that you have to go hire an assistant coach. You can't. All right. So maybe it raises the level of the program if that's how you think about things. That's just how I look at it.
With you 100%. And look, I think when you hear Jay in his post games, with all his interviews, he talks about alignment. He says the people of Miami, people say similar things, obviously. So we understand coaches are going to say things because it's just part of what they have to say. But I like to focus on which aspects they emphasize. And with him, he emphasizes, I like the people around me, meaning administration. I like the alignment. I like the investment in what I need to do. And those are really the things that matter. We could say blue blood. There's no blue blood in 2026. You should call it green blood, because it's about having the ability and the willingness to pay the best players. That's really what a blue blood is. And of course, you got to pay your coach as well. So
I think, and by the way, there's a lot of schools with money, but can your coach pick the right guys to pay, which Jay Lucas did this year?
No doubt. And I'm saying, what I was saying is he could do all those things here if the money is there. So we just got to keep supporting the program.
And support. The support's got to be there. That's got to match.
Got it. We got to do our part to support the program. I think the athletic department's shown that they will empower, that they care about winning. I like the way the season ended from an attendance standpoint. I didn't like how it started. There's a lot of reasons for that. We got to keep that momentum going. It's going to get more local. This is the first time, I think, Pete, where you know it. You've seen it. So tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think you will. UM fans or Miami people just know the players on Miami's team before they even get there. They knew Dante Allen. They know Caleb Gaskins. Obviously, the Boozer twins were a miss, but
there was a time in the mid 2000s. There was a lot of local guys.
Edwin Rios, right? Remember him?
Rios. Yeah. You had Brian Asbury. You had Adrian Thomas. So you had Dennis Clemente, Guillermo Diaz. Yeah. They were international, but they were Miami guys. So I will say, but it's a different caliber of player now. That's more so what it is to me, because it's a different ballgame. We were talking about top 15, top 10 players in the country. Gatorade player of the year in state of Florida in a Caleb Gaskins now. So different Dante Allen, state champ at Riviera, Montverde Prep, son of a Heat assistant coach. There's more pedigree involved now.
No doubt. And more coverage. It's just, I don't know. It feels different in that way, Pete. Whereas Gaskins going to come in and play, and there's going to be top 10 pick, top 10 recruit expectations, and people already know him. Whereas with Jaleel Bethea, it's who is this guy? Who was also a top 10 recruit. Obviously, it didn't work out. Not because of that, but whatever. So, and the Boozer twins, that was very close to happening, as you know. Something like that, the next pair of Boozer twins, like Jeremiah Smith, the next one to come through, I think we'll have a much better chance of getting that player and closing the deal. And that will be a whole different story. So I don't know. I feel there's things that are happening structurally that are very
Things
good.
are happening, man. We could turn back the clock a little bit. You get one or two.
On that one, we'll sign off. Stay tuned for the latest rumors and innuendo with Canes basketball. And of course, all the coverage of Pro Day. Pete's going to be there. He'll do a show spring. Just so you guys want to know, we'll be doing the show every day of spring. I'll be here in Colorado holding it down for the first week. I'll be at practice the second week. We'll figure it out after that. But Pete will be doing his famous car reports. We got to get his car sponsor. If you guys want to sponsor Pete's car reports, holler at him. But we'll be doing car reports from practice here from the media availability. We'll give you coverage on spring practice like no one else. You already know that. You guys who've been around the show for a while. You know no one's going to cover spring practice like us. So like and subscribe. Go Canes.
Go Canes.